Welcome to ZM Facts. It goes without saying that pilots at the big airlines make good money. Even brand new first officers at Delta make $92 per hour. The highest paid captains make $354 per hour, according to this figure. American and United both have a relatively comparable pay range, paying anything from $90 per hour to almost $350 per hour. Pilots don't work the typical 2,000 payable hours per year, it should be mentioned. A pilot typically flies 75 hours each month, or 900 hours a year. This amounts to merely financial remuneration of around $81,000 for new first officers and $318,000 for the top captains. These businesses all offer incredibly generous, foolproof retirement plans. Up to a certain point, most employers will often match your retirement contributions, but if you don't make any, they won't either. But each of these three airlines has a defined direct contribution of 16%, which can go into a bead fund or a 401k plan. This indicates that in addition to your income, they will make a 16% contribution to one of these retirement accounts. Additionally, they provide 401k matching, which is typically between 5 and 6%. As a result of the defined contribution, you will already be making an annual contribution to a 401k plan of nearly $13,000 as a new first officer. With the 401 match and your own maximum contribution of $20,500, you could contribute approximately $35,000 in only your first year. To put things into perspective, you would have $9 million after investing $35,000 in your 401 for 40 years at an 8% return. And that actually represents the lower bound. The most seasoned captains benefit from a defined contribution of about $50,000. To reach the entire contribution ceiling of $61,000 at this time, they just need to contribute $11,000 from their own wage. By the time you reach retirement, you should have $15 million. In addition to all of this, major airlines provide their pilots considerable profit share. Prior to the outbreak of the pandemic, Delta distributed a record $1.6 billion, or nearly $17,500 per employee. When you tally it all up, you'll notice that these pilots can earn anywhere between a starting salary in the low dollar 100s and a total pay of around $400,000. The best aspect is that advancement within the aviation sector is quite simple. You can receive a promotion without lying to your boss or inventing a brand new product. Promotions in the aviation sector are typically automated and simply based on your overall flight experience and hours. So, if you persevere long enough, you will eventually succeed. And if you thought the base pay was high, wait till you hear about the overtime pay. However, this raises the query: why on earth are pilots paid so much? Here are some reasons. Number 1. Barrier to entry. The fact that the entry barrier is so high is one of the primary reasons that pilots are paid so much. To fly for any of the major airlines, you not only need to spend years accumulating flying hours, but also a 4-year degree. The airlines are becoming more flexible with regard to the degree requirement, although they still strongly favor those who have one. Starting with the degree requirement, I won't explain it because I'm confident that everyone reading this is aware of how it works. You attend a school for 4 or possibly 3 years, drudge through tedious assignments and exams, and ultimately you'll leave with a piece of paper. However, if you want to work as a commercial pilot, you still have a ways to go. The first step is to obtain your private pilot's license, which can cost anywhere from $10 to $20,000 and typically takes 9 months. Following this, you can begin working on your commercial pilot's license, which typically has 3 stages. Your instrument ratings come first, and they can cost anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000. The second is the price of the business license, which ranges from $25,000 to $35,000. Finally, there are multi-engine add-ons, which range in price from $5 to $10 grand. You've been in training for 2 years at this time and have spent anywhere from $50,000 to $90,000 on it, not including the price of college. However, you do own a commercial license, correct? Yes and no, I suppose. Although you can begin flying for business with this license, it does not entitle you to work for a commercial airline. You must obtain your ATPL, or Airline Transport Pilot License, in order to do that. You don't need much, if any, further training to obtain this, but you do need a staggering 1,500 hours of work. You will most likely only have 250 to 300 hours of flight time as a new commercial pilot. Therefore, you'll need to figure out how to put in another 1,200 hours of independent work. Fortunately, you can reduce the requirement from 1,500 hours to 1,000 hours if you have a bachelor's degree in an area linked to aviation. Here, careful planning is essential, but you'd still need to find out how to work an additional 700 hours. You may choose a novel approach, like as crop dusting or skydiving, but more often than not, becoming a flight teacher yourself is the most effective way to accrue these hours. The bad news is that you'll need to spend an additional $20 to $35,000, and that it will take you at least another year, if not two, to develop the hours themselves. As a flight teacher, on the bright side, you will be compensated, but it won't be very much given the amount of time and money you've invested. After all of this, you'll ultimately be able to obtain a license for an airline transport pilot. By the time most people receive their college degree and ATPL, which on average costs $100,000 and takes 4 years, they are often in their mid-20s. However, you can now earn a career as a commercial airline pilot. Reason number 2. Paying your dues. Even if you can now work as an airline pilot, you won't be earning much money. Since experience is the only factor that matters in the aviation sector, you'll have to start out with unpopular regional carriers. The majority of these regional airlines, however, merge into the major airlines, which is a positive thing. The most seasoned pilots from the regional airlines will therefore be automatically transferred to Delta and American Airlines as openings arise. Once you accumulate between 5,000 and 6,000 hours of flight time, this typically occurs. Given that you put in 1,000 hours to obtain your ATPL, you will need to put in an additional 4,000 to 5,000 hours to advance to the majors. This won't be particularly fun either, which will only make matters worse. The most seasoned pilots at the major airlines are granted access to all desired routes and timetables. You will therefore be flying the routes that nobody else wants to as a new regional pilot. This often involves several daily flights lasting between 1 and 2 hours. You'll not only travel the least attractive routes, but you'll also get compensated by regional airlines. Consider the airline Endeavor, which connects to Delta. You will only make $52 per hour, or around $47,000 per year, as a first officer in your first year. The good news is that given how quickly everyone is going up to the majors at these airlines, you'll definitely be able to move up to being a captain within 2 or 3 years. At Endeavor, you can become a captain and make a lot more reasonable $89 per hour, or nearly $80,000 annually. The entire process at the regionals typically takes 4 to 5 years in total. But once you're a captain, you generally won't have to wait much longer for the major airlines to call you in. Therefore, most people are in their late 20s or even older when they ultimately make it to the majors. But after working a few years here, you'll finally be promoted to captain at a significant airline, earning over $200,000 annually, which will gradually increase to $400,000 annually. Therefore, being a pilot is undoubtedly a lucrative career choice, but the initial time and financial commitments are absurd. Not to mention the daily compromises that pilots must make, like as continually traveling and dining out. Additionally, they are taking a huge risk with their health. Every year, pilots must pass a first-class medical exam. If they don't pass, they can no longer fly for an airline. Fortunately, finding a decent job as an air traffic controller or anything similar won't be a problem for these individuals. But given that most pilots enter the profession out of a sense of passion, this is undoubtedly not the desired result. The process has been made as simple as possible by airlines. For instance, they've been asking the government to relax the 1,500-hour flight restriction, but the FAA just rejected this idea, so things aren't exactly moving along nicely. We'll have to wait a few years before we see any effects from the airline industry's recent introduction of its own flight academies, which are meant to simplify and fund the process. The procedure of becoming a commercial pilot is still drawn out and difficult in the interim. Airlines must pay late career employees well into the 6 figures in order to entice people to go through this procedure. But it would seem that even these salaries would not be sufficient to draw in new talent given the severe pilot shortage. Reason number 3. Pilot shortage. In 2022, we have the most cutting-edge technology ever. But for some reason, there are also widespread shortages. In addition to the obvious lack of pilots, there are also shortages of cars, chips, oil, minimum wage workers, and software engineers. However, the epidemic was mostly to blame for these shortages. But since 1997, there has been a pilot shortage. Approximately 11% of the workforce, or 8,000 pilots, are currently unemployed. This number is projected to increase to 30,000 by 2025 and 80,000 by 2032, which will only make matters worse. Existing pilots have an excellent overtime potential thanks to this absurd shortage. Because it makes them appear incredibly bad, airlines avoid canceling flights whenever they can. People will post about their bad experiences on social media, with friends and with family, and it's just not appropriate. Airlines therefore ask their current pilots to fly more trips for 100 to 300% more pay in order to avoid this. This quickly increases to several $100s per hour, if not over $1,000 per hour, when your base compensation alone is already over $250 per hour. Additionally, because they may only fly a certain number of hours per month, pilots are frequently quite selective about which overtime trips they accept. Pilots are not allowed to fly more than 100 hours per month, according to the FAA. Thus, after working their normal 75 hours each week, they only have 25 hours available each month for overtime. As a result, they frequently pass up opportunities that would pay just 100% more than their base wage. The ones that are 200 to 300% above their base income are typically the ones they wait for strategically. At a maximum of 25 hours of overtime at $1,000 per hour, they would earn an additional $25,000 per month or $300,000 annually. And many of the best pilots actually operate in this manner. The finest pilots at Southwest are able to earn $549,000 a year by employing this tactic. The top Delta pilots can earn $526,000 annually. Additionally, American Airlines top pilots might earn over $700,000 annually. All of it is only possible because of an 11% pilot shortage. Just think about the salaries in 10 years. Reason number 4. 7-figure incomes. In the end, it's hardly a mystery why pilots make a lot of money. They are compensated in accordance with their demand, just like any other job. The need for pilots has been growing rapidly for decades, but the supply hasn't fully kept up. The absurd requirements to become a pilot are the main cause of this. Before you can land your first position in the airline industry, you must have accrued more than 1,000 hours of experience. The tech sector, which has been able to offer higher earnings with less study time, has only served to intensify this problem. As a result, the majority have chosen the technology sector over aviation, and only the most dedicated individuals become pilots. However, if you're already over there, man, now is the best moment to be a pilot. Currently, the typical annual wage is $202,000. However, the top pilots make well over $500,000 annually, and truthfully, it won't be long before this rises to 7 figures. Personally, I do believe that all shortages will be resolved at some point, but that doesn't guarantee that it will happen quickly. Pilots will be among the highest-paying professions available by the time this shortfall is resolved, which might take another 10 years or longer. Consequently, pilots are compensated quite well. For a 7-figure wage, would you work as a pilot? Comment for us below. Please leave a like if you believe that your job choice was incorrect. Of course, you should also have a look at our Discord community to share ideas for new videos. And don't forget to subscribe to see more videos with facts. Thanks for watching.